Imagine this: a young man standing in Accra, looking around and see his people suffering, corruption everywhere, schools struggling, leaders living like kings. He said to himself, "No, this is unfair." And with one bold move, he shook the country. Who was this young man? His name was Jerry Rawlings. Born on June 22nd, 1947, in Accra, Jerry came from a very unique background. His father was a Scottish chemist who was working in Ghana at the time, while his mother was a strong Ghanaian woman from the Volta region. The two of them met in Accra, but their relationship didn't last. Jerry grew up mostly with his mother, and that one thing, growing up without his father, changed him in many ways. His mother was strict, disciplined, and very wise. She taught him to always stand for what is right, even if he had to stand alone. That lesson entered deep into his heart. It became part of who he was. Growing up like this made Jerry tough. It made him independent. He didn't depend on anybody to push him. He pushed himself. He went to school in Accra and later attended Achimota School. There, he began to notice something. Some students had everything, while many others had nothing. That difference didn't sit well with him. He started asking questions. Why is life so unfair? As he grew older, those questions turned into anger. Not bad anger, but the kind that wants change. He joined the Ghana Air Force and became a flight lieutenant. But inside the military, what he saw made things worse. Corruption everywhere. Leaders enjoying while soldiers and ordinary people were suffering. That was when everything inside him began to build up. The lessons from his mother, the struggles he saw growing up, the unfairness around him, all of it was pushing him towards one decision. And soon he will act. By 1979, Ghana was in serious trouble. Prices were going up, people were hungry, and the country was under military rule. At the top was General Fred Akufo, leading a group of senior officers known as the Supreme Military Council. But many people believed these leaders were out of touch. While ordinary Ghanaians were suffering, the top officials were living comfortably. Inside the military, young officers were angry, and one of them was Jerry Rawlings. Jerry, just a flight lieutenant at the time, couldn't take it anymore. The things he saw growing up, the lessons from his mother, and the injustice around him all came together. He believed something had to change, and fast. On May 15th, 1979, he made his move. He led a group of junior officers, mostly young lieutenants and soldiers who felt the same frustration. Their plan was simple but risky: arrest the senior military leaders, and take control of the country. But the plan didn't go as expected. The coup failed. Jerry and his fellow officers were arrested, beaten, and thrown into prison. The government even sentenced them to death. At that moment, it looked like everything was over. But something unexpected happened. Instead of fear, Jerry showed courage. During his trial, he spoke boldly about corruption and injustice. His words spread across the country. Ordinary people started to listen. Soldiers started to believe. Even in prison, Jerry Rawlings was already becoming a symbol of change. Just a few weeks after his failed coup, something serious was building inside the military. The anger was not just in Jerry, it was everywhere. Young soldiers were tired. They were suffering just like ordinary Ghanaians, while top officers were enjoying. And one name kept giving them hope: Jerry Rawlings. Even in detention, his words during the trial had spread. Soldiers heard him speak against corruption, and many believed he was saying the truth. Slowly, quietly, they began to organize. Then came June 4th, 1979. It was not a small action, it was a full military uprising. Junior officers and soldiers across key military bases in Accra moved at once. They took control of important locations, challenged their superiors, and turned the system upside down. In the middle of this operation, they went for one man, Jerry Rawlings. He was still under military detention, waiting for execution. But this time, the system holding him had already started collapsing. They secured his release, not by sneaking him out, but by taking control of the military itself. Jerry was no longer a prisoner. He became the leader of the movement. Together with the junior officers, they formed the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council. They acted decisively. Senior officers accused of corruption were arrested and some executed. Harsh, yes, but Jerry believed it was the only way to show that Ghana must change. Then came a moment that shocked many. Barely 4 months in power, on September 24th, 1979, Jerry handed control peacefully to a democratically elected civilian government of President Hila Lehman. The Armed Forces Revolutionary Council was meant as a transitional military government with a mandate to punish corruption among senior officers, stabilize the country, and return Ghana to civilian rule. No long rule, no clinging to power. Rawlings had promised to restore civilian rule, and he kept that promise. Who was this man? Who could seize a nation by force, yet knew when to step aside? After handing over power in 1979, many people thought Jerry Rawlings was done with leadership. But that was not the case. He remained in the military as a flight lieutenant, but no longer in control of the country. Instead, he became something else, a symbol. Many soldiers, workers, and students still believed in him. Meanwhile, Ghana was struggling again. The civilian government led by Hilal Liman had taken over, but things were not improving. The economy was getting worse, prices were rising, and corruption had not disappeared. For many ordinary people, life was still very hard. Frustration started building, just like before. Now, was Jerry officially invited to take over? No. But across the country, many people, soldiers, workers, and activists, believed he was one who could fix things. They trusted in him. They wanted change. And quietly, support for his return began to grow. This time, Jerry did not rush. He learned from 1979. He planned carefully. He worked with both military allies and civilian groups, especially young officers and radical thinkers who believed in justice and fairness. Together, they prepared for something bigger, something more organized. Then came the night of December 31st, 1981. It was not chaos, it was a coordinated operation. Soldiers loyal to Jerry moved quickly. They took control of key military bases and important places like radio stations, the voice of the nation. Before long, the message was clear. The government had fallen. President Hilal Liman was removed from power. The constitution was suspended, and Jerry Rawlings stepped forward once again, this time not just as a revolutionary, but as a leader ready to stay. He formed a new government called the Provisional National Defense Council. This was different from before. Not just soldiers, but civilians were involved. The goal this time was not only to punish corruption, but to rebuild Ghana completely. Now the real challenge began. Running a country is not the same as taking power. The economy was collapsing, people were suffering, and the decisions ahead would not be easy. But Jerry was ready. The lessons from his past, the struggles, the failures, the victories, had prepared him for this moment. This time, he was not just fighting the system, he was now responsible for fixing it. In 1992, Ghana was ready for a new beginning. Political parties were allowed again, and the country moved towards democracy. And then something surprising happened. Jerry Rawlings, the same man who once came to power through coup, decided to run for president, this time as a civilian. He won. For the next 8 years, he led Ghana as an elected president. During this time, he worked to stabilize the economy, improve infrastructure, and rebuild the country's image in the eyes of the world. Slowly but surely, Ghana began to stand on its feet again. Of course, not everyone agreed with him. Some people still remembered the harsh actions of his early years, but many others saw a different side. A leader who had grown, who had learned, who truly wanted a better future for his people. Then came one of his most defining moments. In the year 2000, after completing his time in office, Jerry Rawlings did something rare. he stepped down peacefully. No struggle, no attempt to hold on to power, just a clean handover. In a region where many leaders refused to let go, this act spoke louder than words. After leaving office, he didn't disappear. He remained active, speaking, advising, and stayed connected to the people. He was still that same outspoken man who believed in justice and accountability. Then, on November 12th, 2020, Ghana stood still. Jerry Rawlings passed away at Kolebu Teaching Hospital after a short illness. The news spread quickly, and for many, it was hard to believe. Tribute poured in from across Ghana, Africa, and the world. Some remember the young soldier who dared to speak up. Some remember the revolutionary who challenged corruption. Others remember the president who helped stabilize a nation. Jerry Rawlings was not a simple man. He was strong, controversial, bold, and determined. A man shaped by his upbringing, his struggles, and the times he lived in. From a boy raised by a strong mother to a soldier who refused to stay silent, to a leader who changed the direction of a nation. His story is one of courage, mistakes, growth, and impact. And whether you see him as a hero, a reformer, or a controversial figure, one thing is clear. He changed Ghana forever, and his legacy will never be forgotten.